Welcome back to the Camo Matrix Deep Dive. This week we will look at Veil Camo's Chaos Rush. But first we'll do a small update. The Camo Matrix has added the Connec Outdoors camo patterns Outvision and Versa, and they're available on the Camo Matrix YouTube channel and on the Camo Matrix tool. So you can check those out if you're interested in some other camo options out there. And I also have a natural mosquito repellent that I'm going to be testing out from Parakeeto. And what I like about this for us hunters is there's a backpack clip, a wristband that have these, the effective ingredients are natural French-made essential oils, and it's DEET-free. So I'll be testing them out during this turkey season and see how they work. But if you're curious about them, the link is in the description below and also up here. So check them out if you're interested. And remember to like this video and subscribe, if you want to see more of the Camo Matrix. Watching the Camo Matrix YouTube channel is the best way to support the channel. But remember, if you need anything at all for hunting, clicking a link on the Camo Matrix support page gets you access to almost anything that you would need for your hunting adventures while supporting the Camo Matrix with no extra cost to you. So an example would be this week through Camo Fire, I picked up some bear spray because I'll be traipsing through Montana this summer and also into hunting season, a cellular camera, and a rechargeable headlamp. And I ended up saving over $130 on those items. So there's tons of deals that are on there. But by clicking the link also below in the description and up here, you can get a direct link to Camo Fire. And also on the Camo Matrix support page, I have tons of affiliate sales online stores that you can pick from, shop, find things that you need, and support the Camo Matrix. So first, I also had a question about blaze orange and UV light. So what I've got my UV light here, and I wanted to show you how blaze orange might look under UV light. And depending on the fabric, so this is something off of my backpack so that I can pull it up when I'm using it during hunting season or rifle season. But you can see that I'm not doing it directly on it. So directly on it is really bright, but I use that kind of that edge. And if you're curious about how I use a UV light to test out camo, I have a video for that, and I'll put that link down there also. But this is a nylon fabric, a little more water resistant. This is another nylon fabric, water resistant, a cheap vest. You can see, you guys probably have picked one of these up for like a couple dollars, but you can see how it kind of, it's how bright it is. And then here's one of my toboggan head covers. It's a fleece, and you can kind of see from the side. Now remember, that's direct from the side how it doesn't glow as much as those nylons do. And this is an older blaze orange cotton, more natural fabric vest that I've got, and I prefer this one over the nylon ones. But they're they're harder and harder to get. But you can see that this doesn't glow as much as this one does. So it might stand out. And here's another nylon kind of Elmer Fudd style hat, and it does glow with that UV light a little bit more so than others. And you can see that like with my camo here, it's not glowing like these do. So they are going to be a little bit brighter just because it's a brighter fabric, depending on what they put them on. But the nylons glow a little bit more. So this was just a viewer had asked me a question about using UV light on blaze orange, and I wanted to just go through a couple of different ones to show how the fabric choice might be brighter. So something that's more natural like fleece and cotton may not glow as much as these nylon ones would. So just one thing to take note of. And of course, during rifle season, you're going to be using these, and your prey is going to be at a much further distance. So probably the best thing, if you're really looking for concealment, is to find one that's got a pattern in it. And I might throw a couple of images up here of some of the blaze orange that have patterns in them that might help conceal you a little more. So Chaos Rush was introduced a little over 2 years ago. It is a camo that was supposed to help you get up close to your prey. and work equally as good on the ground as it did up in the tree stand. The design was inspired by military camo and was said by Veil Camo to be their stealthiest pattern. They used heavy texturing and coloring to blend itself into the early season and lush environments like turkey season. So let's take a look at the color of the pattern. It's based on a light cream background that is heavily washed over by a series of colors ranging from light tan to light and dark browns and a little bit of green. The pattern almost has this tiger stripe feel to it with the strokes of the pattern. And this gives it a pattern depth, breaks up the human shape with a background that highly contrasts the foreground colors. And the brown and green strokes of the pattern can give way to one another, creating a negative effect, almost in some cases as though the brown has been torn away to reveal a green on the underside. Now, the main foreground of the pattern is multi-directional, and the shapes have a crisp, hard edge. But inside those shapes are micro patterns. And the macro and micro pattern kind of have this convergent and will aid in deceiving the viewer from a distance and up close. And another unique part of this design is the faint pattern of a slightly darker background color that exists on the light background, kind of creamish light cream color. And this adds more depth to the pattern. And just when you think that you've covered all the concealment tricks that you can put on a fabric, some of the hard edge macro shapes transition into a fading micro pattern. And this gives you a mixture of hard edge and soft edge contrasting shapes. Now, because there's not a ton of green in the pattern compared to the brown, the deer vision doesn't really wash out much of the dark sections of the pattern by making two larger sections into one large dark section. The example would be as if you've got a green next to a brown, and when you convert them over to deer vision, they become one shape. And that turns you into a big blob. If you've got big areas that turn into one shape in deer vision, then it's going to create that blob that we're all trying to avoid, and it's less likely of an issue, and that keeps that human shape broken up and confuses the prey. So let's see how Camo Rush performs on the Camo Matrix. Remember that true light, shadows, and reflections will always alter how a pattern appears in a real environment. So this simulation is purely performed to give you a general idea about how a pattern may perform in these environments. All right, starting on the Camo Matrix page, you can go to the single camo comparison tool, and we will select Veil Camo Chaos Rush from the list of camo patterns. And we're going to start out with the cornfields, and you can see that the way that pattern begins to blend in there. When I throw it back in that background, it's really shape confusing. So just that varying colors of the cornfield, and if you hunt cornfield edges, then this would blend in for you quite nicely. Even in deer vision, you can see that it really masks itself, and it's that contrast of that light background in the pattern and also those different coloring and shapes. And here on the early fall hardwoods, it really conceals itself well, both in deer vision and in human vision. But it's that random shape direction that really breaks that thing up, especially when it's immersed in the background. And you can imagine if you had it, something covering you in the foreground, it would really be hard to see. Here we go in evergreen forest. That ground color really lends itself, and the sky background really lends itself to make this thing kind of disappear. It's really hard to see those edges. They kind of blend into one another on that background in this particular environment. So a grassy lowland. So here we've got a mixture of that yellow and that light tan color in the background and some green. And it's really, you can look at those light color backgrounds in the pattern, and they just kind of blend itself into that background, and would confuse someone or confuse the prey that's looking at you. Now, it's not perfect in this environment, but it would work here. It'd be pretty good in this particular environment. So if you hunt areas like that. Now, this grassy water edge. So if you're a duck hunter, this may not be the best one. It still would break up the pattern, but it might be something that would be seen, especially from above, a little bit more so than something that was made specifically for a grassy area like this. Now, high plain sage, we'll throw it in the background. That light color that's in the background of the camo pattern will help it blend into the light colors of the environment. So it would be suitable here. It'd be a good pattern here. I wouldn't say it would be one of the best, but it would be suitable in that environment. So late fall hardwoods. This is a hard one to kind of match into, but with that background, of the pattern, it makes itself blend into the lighter colors of the background. The dark colors of it, because you're kind of, it's almost a grayed out woodsy environment, and many of you that have hunted this area know that it can really be gray in there. So if you are looking to conceal yourself, it may be a lighter pattern that might be the best in there. Now, a late season tree stand, where you've got basically no foliage that's in the trees. The lighter colors in here are going to help you kind of be looked through from the ground. The darker colors that are in it might help with the shading, might help with the colors of the branches that are there. So it would be a suitable pattern there. Now here's a lichen mountaintop. Again, the coloring is not perfect for blending into the darker areas of this environment. Now with the rocks and some of that darker ground might be pretty good, but not absolutely perfect. Now mid-fall aspens, I would say that this one in particular would be the best one that I've seen blend into this particular environment. I think that the coloring in here, the background, light color, do a really good job at blending into this mid-fall aspen background. One of the best that I've seen. Now for the pine forest, we are, let's see, once we sink it into the background, it does pretty good. It may not do as well in those dark areas, but again, with the shadowing that might be on it, it might conceal itself pretty good. Here, the lighter colored background of that pattern will make it stand out. But when it's in the foreground, you can really see that it does well in hiding that shape. Same thing with the pine forest floor. Here we've got a yellow grass bottom. I'm gonna throw it up against that tree back there, kind of like if you're turkey hunting and you're wanting to conceal yourself. It might pop out a little bit more so than a camo pattern that was built to be next to a tree, but it would still serve you well if you were to manage to move yourself around and conceal yourself around the trees or around some of that lighter colored ground cover. Now in the pine tree stand, does pretty good. It's that random pattern shape, and right now, once I stick it in that background, that further tree stand that's back there, it just, it blends itself in pretty good, and it make it really hard to see it from a distance, and even up close. You can look at that deer vision view there, and it blends itself in pretty good. Now rocky alpine, if you're hunting areas that have this particular background, it almost becomes invisible when you throw it back there around those rocks. So it does pretty good with that. Really, not necessarily the colors, but with the shape of the pattern and with the shadowing of those rocks, it really makes it blend in well in that particular environment. So let's go to some more rocky terrain. This is going to be the same kind of scenario where the colors may not be absolutely perfect, but when you throw it back there, the shadowing, the shapes of that particular pattern make it a strong contender to where it would be something that you could use in this particular environment. So yeah, you can see there that those light colors really blend itself into the stone color that's in that background. So some snowy dark timber here. Now, if I throw it in the background, now the light color may not be great for that snow, but in the right environment, with the right cover, this could work well there. There's other camos that are better for the snow, but if you're not going to be getting something that's specifically for the snow, then this would be a pretty good pattern in there. Something that would blend into those lighter patches where the snow isn't necessarily covering. And this is a different kind of angle for a snowy high desert. Blends in very well, especially when you've got those evergreens in that background. It would be a pretty good concealment there, especially with the dark colors of those rocks that are showing through, or the ground that's showing through, and there you go in deer vision. You can see that it would blend itself in very well there, especially with that light color that's the base of that pattern. So we'll go to, let's see here, spring green. So, they say that it's good for a lush environment. And, it doesn't necessarily blend itself in well with those really light shaded green sections that turn yellow when it becomes deer vision. But again, in the right location, with the right shading, with the right shadows, you might conceal yourself fairly well. But, if you're going to be standing in a really green background, it may not be something that's going to conceal you the most. Now we've got a yellow grass forest here. With that, again, with the background, the yellow on the ground, it's going to really blend itself in well, especially with that light background in the pattern. And with the coloring of the darker sections of the pattern, any foliage that's on the trees, it's really going to just mask itself well and make it look like it's just part of the environment. So, pretty good pattern. So, Chaos Rush looks to live up to the claims that it helps blend a hunter into many environments. Its coloring and pattern would make it easy to function as a top tier pattern, but here's the problem. As of today, there are not many items available to purchase. I think it's just a fleece jacket and a parka that are available, and I think they're only available in medium, and they're available at a deep discount. And I've reached out to them to see if the pattern would be available in future productions, but I haven't had any response from them. So I'm assuming that the stock is limited to basically what's out there. And so what I'd like to do, and since we can see that this pattern is effective, is to find some similar alternatives that are still available that you can choose from. So here we go. We have FirstLite, Specter, and Fusion. And right now I'm just putting it on a background. You can see that I've got Chaos Rush, Veil Chaos Rush right there in the center. And just how you can see that they have similar shapes, similar patterns, similar colors that almost look like the same. So, if you're looking at, if you like the pattern and you want to get something that's similar, you see how well it performs in here, then, take a look at these two particular patterns. Now they're, FirstLite is in the more of a higher price range. So, I'm just going to show you a couple more pictures here with, them with no background and now on a woods background. So you can see how well they do. Now I've got an alternative here that would be in a more of a lower price range, not necessarily, bottom tier. These guys are going to be more middle range, but we're looking at Kryptek Obskura Transitional. So you can see that similar background color, similar shape, and Skre Solace. This is on a white background. Now, and I'm wearing Skre Solace right here, so you can see it in how it looks in real life. So this would be similar to that Chaos Rush, but where Skre Solace may not have the greens and that kind of almost orangey color in there, but similar shape, similar background breakup. So this is of course another view with no background and with a woods background. And so that's Kryptek Obskura, Transitional, and Skre Solace next to the Veil Chaos Rush pattern. And then I've got some other ones here that have the same kind of coloring scheme and the same kind of breakup scheme, but would be of a different pattern, more bold pattern. So we've got Predator Spring Green, and we've got Fleet Early Harvest. So take a look at how those are. They would be of similar color, similar breakup pattern, but in a different style. So those would be other alternatives if you like how that pattern breakup is. And here they are again on no background, and here they are on the woods background. VeilCamo produces some very effective camo, and Chaos Rush is a good one, but its declining availability makes it a tough choice. Only time will tell if they choose to place the pattern back into production, but if you want something similar that's still available, look at the list of camo that I gave you just a minute ago. Now, I wanted to say that, you know, I've got a single Camo Matrix hat available. So what I'm going to do is the first person to email me with a address of where they want one shipped to the email address below. It's kind of a thank you for watching the entire video. So email to that address that's on the screen right now. Give me your name and a shipping address, and I'll send you this Camo Matrix hat. And I'd like to say that, as always, remember the best camo is to remain still and be quiet. But if you want a camo pattern like Chaos Rush that seems effective but hard to find, then you still may just have to sit still and be quiet. Or look at my alternatives. Thanks for watching.
Camo Matrix.